Thanks for staying with us. It's now time to look at what the reps are saying about negative impact of high interest rates. The House of Representatives Committee on National Planning and Economic Development has cautioned the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, against the continued hike in interest rates, warning that it is crippling vital sectors such as manufacturing, agriculture, and small businesses. Committee Chairman Boyega Isiaka noted that although recent economic reforms are stabilizing the economy and attracting investor confidence, the aggressive tightening of monetary policy is harming job-creating sectors. He highlighted that the monetary policy rate MPR has risen 10 times since January 2023 from 16.5% to 27.5%, yet structural issues such as supply bottlenecks persist. Isiaka urged the CBN ahead of the 300th Monetary Policy Committee meeting to adopt a more balanced approach, one that continues to manage inflation but also supports growth, productivity, and employment generation. Our guest this morning is Mr. Muktar Mohammed, a finance expert. Good morning and welcome to the program, Mr. Mohammed.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Okay. When I was giving that report or reading that report, one of the statements that struck me was Committee Chairman Boyega Isiaka noted that although recent economic reforms are stabilizing the economy and attracting investor confidence, the aggressive tightening of monetary policy is harming job-creating sectors. Are we between the devil and the deep blue sea? Are we really seeing investor confidence rising on one hand and this tightening of the monetary policy harming this other sector that generates employment for people? Are we that we have to choose one over the other, or we can do both?
I think as for now, I think the CBN has decided to choose one over the other. When you say investors' confidence upbeat or improving, you are talking about foreign direct investors and foreign portfolio investors that are coming back to Nigeria. And if you look at that, that means the CBN is looking at attracting more FX liquidity because, again, that is one other area of dealing with inflation. The interest rate hike you relatively seen is because of inflationary pressure, and that's why they say the central bank orthodox monetary policy is once inflation is high, then you raise interest rate to stop borrowing and others. But in our own case now, the interest inflation or the hike in interest rate is largely driven by FX volatility because virtually 70 to 80% of what we consume, we import. If we are not importing what we consume, the machinery that are used for the finished product are being imported. And so the exchange rate has an impact on it, and in turn, that will also have impact in consumer. So I think what they are trying to do is using, first of all, deal with stability. And if you get exchange rate stabilized, you will address inflationary pressure, and then with that, then you can now begin to think of lowering interest rate. Yes, I quite agree with the house that says that Mr. Boyega that said that it's not allowing business to expand because what it means is that cost of borrowing is high.
Is the investor confidence really, re-emphasize that, let me hear from you, is it really rising? Are we finding these foreign direct investors coming back, the portfolio investors also coming back to Nigeria, or we just have hope that now that the confidence is being restored or is returning gradually, they will come? Have you seen any evidence that these people are really returning and it's going to impact positively on our economy? That's my concern.
I think it depends on how much of them are returning, but you could see from the Petrobat, one of the largest petroleum company in the world, say they want to come back to Nigeria. Monga Stanley want to open a full-blooded banking in Nigeria. So those are confident that you can say, okay, now that is a policy statement. Coming back in itself there have to be a lot of things to be set right before any investor wants to come back. Foreign portfolio investor, bar what we got from the central bank last week, the stock exchange In as much as they are coming in, a lot of them are also exiting. So it's both ways. But in terms of confidence, when you see a company like Morgan Stanley, you see a company like Petrobras saying, we want to come back to Nigeria, that is having confidence in your economy. But now coming back in itself is another ball game entirely. And what we have seen of recent is that, yes, foreign direct investors are planning to come. Some have come. But those that have come, they don't have that kind of liquidity or weight to really impact the exchange market. But when you have companies like Petrobras, Morgan Stanley coming in, those might just have big impacts on the exchange rate, and that is foreign direct investors. Like for portfolio investors, definitely they want to come. Nigeria is still an investor heaven, because again, when you look at our equity, you look at our exchange rate, definitely you want to come.
Okay, so one of the things that has been said is, this is crippling the economy, especially for, key sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, and whatnot. So the high interest rate here, that's what we're talking about. And, it has been increased with over 100% from about 16, and now we're at 27. I know that the government has been trying to put certain reforms, but for you, would you say that this has a negative impact for sure on the economy, and is there any room for improvement? Maybe we would see that the reforms will start to work out at some point.
Let me start with your last statement. I think that's a statement of hope. The reform will start to work out at some point.
And so what point would that be?
This is a government of hope. We just keep hoping.
Renewed hope agenda.
It's renewed hope. So you have answered yourself. So when the renewed hope agenda will come up, maybe you begin to see those numbers change. But Rume, if you look at it again, when it comes to at what point do we, the agricultural sector, what do we need to do? I think the game changer would be just to bring down interest rate. But again, you have the monster called inflation. And then you have also the monster called foreign exchange. You have also in those inflation, ordinarily when inflation is drive, when an economy is suffering for economic downturn, you either see inflation, you either see high interest rate. But if you look at Nigerian inflationary pressure, it's multi-dimensional. Just like you say, we have multi-dimensional poverty. So Nigerian inflationary pressure is multi-dimensional, and that one of them is one, you have cost of production, inflation, which is largely driven maybe by high energy costs. Then you have also cost of transportation also drive that. That's added to cost of production. Then also you go to demand and supply. If you look at demand and supply, demand for local goods are still high, but supplies are not there. So you have to also bring in the foreign goods to complement it. So you can see that there's no balance. Definitely that will cause inflationary pressure because cost of some of these goods will go up. And if you look at one that is not really talked about and has become an issue in developing economies, exchange rate volatility is added to it also. So you have to stabilize that rate also. And then microeconomy policies. Some of those microeconomy policies that CBN is saying, okay, we need to reduce liquidity, which I personally think will kill one of the most vibrant sector, the informal sector. And then government is saying, no, we need to pump in liquidity, we need to do conditional cash transfer. So there's no synergy within themselves. And when you just put this to the agricultural sector, the manufacturing sector, this policy now goes down to cost of goods goes up, then any ability to be able to even purchase is still low. So those will definitely have an impact on the agricultural sector, the retail sector, the manufacturing sector. So basically those are the challenges. Can these challenges be addressed? Definitely they will be addressed. But again, when you're addressing those challenges, you have to look at your payload frequency, which is going to help you more, which will you tackle easily, which will you have the manpower to deal with. As it stands now, what the CBN think they can do is to bring stability in the exchange rate. And once that comes in, that will drive down cost of production in one way or the other, because we are importing some of these goods. And then that will reduce inflation. The reduction you are seeing in some of the inflationary pressure is not because a monetary policy rate is high. It's just because you've been able to have a corridor of stability in the exchange rate for about 3 to 4 months. If that continues, then we now have a stable corridor. Then investors will want to come. So you attract the foreign direct investors and portfolio investors. But for now, investors are still sitting down and still looking, because again, the current exchange rate still undermines the value of the currency. For a lot of investors, the exchange between the naira and the dollar, as it stands today, the naira is still undervalued. So they want a situation where you have the true value of the naira, and then you know that this can be held on for a very long time, like what we have seen before now. So that's when you begin to see this policy or this economic reforms begin to make headways.
But with the interest rate being high, how does that even affect like SMEs? Because one issue that we have in Nigeria is the unemployment rates. Even though last year they had said that, you know, unemployment had reduced, but we're still seeing a lot of people that do not have jobs. And when you have businesses that are thriving, that want to even scale up by taking maybe some loans or grants or whatever the case might be, they can get to employ more people. So why is the government not looking at it from that angle to say, you know what, let's have a lower interest rate. We can give out these monies to businesses for them to thrive and sort out the unemployment issue that we have. So basically making job creation a priority.
The government does not think they have an unemployment issues. So you must get that clear.
Wow.
They don't think so. Because like you say, those data of the unemployment data, you should look at those data. Are they the reality? No, definitely. What they have done, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics have changed the format in terms of calculating unemployment. And they said anybody that can be employed for 1 hour in a week is employed.
But is that what we do in Nigeria? Is that what we do in Nigeria?
That's what we've done.
No, but in